Wait, you didn't hear anything from Kevin or Martin, did you?
Say that again?
You didn't hear anything from Kevin or Martin, did you, about not being here?
I did not. I figured they would certainly be there. Yeah, nothing. Mark might have got in a traffic jam. I will text him. All right, now I got you live too. Yes, we're all square. Good. You know that there is a lag in the process. Martin will be there. He's dealing with his kid right now. So just hold off on the minutes if you can. Okay. I'm gonna take my mug off of here. Have you guys, you'll hear me? Okay. We've been working on, like every January we do the wastewater capacity plan and bring it to the commissioners and the planning commission first as far as number of taps and everything. So this year we've also gone ahead and done a water capacity management study. And every January we'll do the exact same thing, submit it to the state as far as what water we have. We've done the study and we always talk about what water we have available and what we can pump and all that stuff, but we really don't put it to the lesser degree or amount, which is what we're actually permitted to withdraw from it because it is the state waters of the state. We don't. It's not our water, so we're tying everything to the 650,000 gallons per day that the state allocates rather than what we can do. And we've kind of said, oh well, in the future, climate change, and we have different studies that says we have plenty of water. It's actually more restrictive to look at it from a numbers perspective. So each year we can do that, and it'll be an ongoing living document that updates each year how much we allocate, how much we have left, getting to that 650,000 gallons per day, or the same as the population, it's 100 gallons per head. So it kind of just ties everything together. And when we're doing that, we also need to take a look at the water allocation plan because we've kind of let that, we set it in the back burner. January, we need to pick that up again.
Okay.
Yeah, we can, yeah, it's on.
I haven't had nothing from them.
Yeah, we can do the minutes and, yeah, I haven't heard from Kevin, so we'll just go.
So, call to order the November 16th, 2022, meeting of the Poolsville Planning Commission. Present are Amanda Licklider, Martin Radigan, Brian Bupp, Lexi Huber. Not present at the time is Commissioner Schramm. No comments on the agenda items, I assume? Nobody waiting to speak? Any announcements from the town staff?
I have a big one.
No, you're not town staff, you can wait.
It's really bad news, right?
I know what it is, I think, because you're here.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, and Martin.
You're stuck with me.
Yeah, anything else, do you want, any other assignments from the,
No.
no? Nobody else has picked a committee
Our
yet?
last meeting, we just did, swore in Jim and Sarah, I guess we didn't, we did swear in Jim for a second term, and we swore in Sarah and took pictures and did things like that. I assume the chicken ordinance will be on the next agenda. But yeah, I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
That right, Wade?
Chicken and food trucks.
Yeah,
And
Nice.
food trucks.
Excellent.
It's a beautiful combination.
All right, it's gonna be a big meeting.
we just need to put chickens on the food trucks.
Yeah. And Jerry will have lots to say about those things. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you. Glad
So,
to be here again,
yeah.
by the way.
we're glad you're still here. So, we can approve the minutes with two of you, right? So, you guys had a chance to review the minutes of the meeting from October 12th?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes from October 12th.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody to oppose, so motion carries. No new business, so we'll move right into our old business of the comprehensive plan update with Wallace Montgomery. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I'm assuming that's on.
Yes, it is.
So, well, we're glad to be back. You get me today instead of Larry. You had Larry last month with just some more conflicting schedules, but I'm glad to be back. My name is Ray Morvac. I'm with Wallace Montgomery, and also online with us is Nicole Davis, who's been helping with sections of the plan and some of the efforts. You guys have met Nikki in the past, and we're glad to continue working with you. We want to sort of give you an update because we're in that process now of really ready to start moving forward with the different chapters and where we are. For those who might be listening, we had a workshop with you all about a month and a half ago, and then had some work on the vision statement, and continue to work on that. And now we're moving forward with the development of some of the chapters, and I'll get into that in a second here. But our agenda today, I don't have, do you have a clicker that I can use, or if you just tell you to advance? If you want to go to the next slide. We sort of wanted to start today building off of the vision statement and what we've heard back from each of you, and we'd like to try to get that further along so that we can be using that as we develop the plan together. I'll give a quick overview of where we are sort of with the schedule and what some of the expectations coming forward are. And then a little bit of update on a couple of the chapters we're working on, and actually some questions I have for the group here for starting to share that information. And then getting into, we went through the exercise with the working session, sort of identifying goals and objectives for the different. So we've outlined a few of those today. Not going to get into all the detail with them, but they're there for you and start to think about, and we can start to get your comments and feedback on those. And we'll be looking to incorporate that into the chapters as we move forward. So that should be that's what we're hoping to get through today, and to work with you on it. If you go to the next slide. Just a quick little summary. Your formatting is a little different than mine. I don't know what happened with the slide there. Some of it's getting cut off, but we have the visioning exercise. This is sort of a summary. This is really hitting, you guys have seen a lot of this. What we did, sort of that brainstorming of what do you think of when you think of Poolsville? What's it mean? This is really just capturing that for anyone's information so they can see some of the key items that were out there. If you go to the next slide. We had the original visioning statement that was from the previous comprehensive plan that you see there. Town of Poolsville prides itself on being a caring community with small town values and character, endeavors to ensure the present and future residents are able to enjoy this lifestyle from the previous comp plan. We had the proposed plan that you see there below that we had circulated to you all following the session as a first cut. Now, I guess I probably should read that just so anyone listening or whatever, but the town strives to preserve our small town charm, natural resources, history, while continuing to build a sustainable community with opportunities for all. There were some things to be considered to active lifestyles. Poolsville encourages diversity and inclusion, as well as access to essential services, parks, recreation, high-quality education. So that was what was sort of circulated, sent around. We carry this over on the next page so you see that. And then we did get comments from one of you about a revision to the statement. And that's here for this proposed amendment, where the town strives to both preserve and emphasize our small town charm, its natural resources, and its history, while continuing to promote sustainability and a strong sense of community. Our goal is to provide opportunities for all to live healthy and active lifestyles. Poolsville encourages diversity and inclusion, as well as access to essential services, parks and recreations, and high-quality education. So that's the draft we have right now, pending other comments from you all for recommendation for the vision statement. So, yes, Mark.
Not to overthink this, but
Nope.
I wonder if it would be appropriate to put something about walkability and pedestrian safety in there. I mean, that's one of the things we keep hearing about.
I feel like that's an essential service. I feel like that goes with Parks and Recreation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
It's already in the umbrella.
Yeah.
And what about economics, like economic stuff? Anything in there about trying to have a healthy business economy or anything like that? Or is that like not really a master plan thing or a comprehensive plan thing?
It should be.
There is a section later in what he's going to show that
Yeah.
is economic development.
Right.
So
But-
it's just a question of.
Yeah, I guess a question, just as part of discussion on that, is we put in this promoting sustainability. And sustainability really is a pretty broad way of saying it, but you want to have a sustainable economy, you want to have a sustainable infrastructure, you want to have, it sort of tries to capture that, and then when we get into the goals and objectives, you can see if those goals tie back to this vision of being a sustainable, just a way to think about it if you're looking at it, but.
I get that sustainable is used a lot of different ways. I was thinking sustainable, green stuff and
Which is part of it too. It
Yeah,
does
that's-
capture a lot.
Yeah,
But
I'm good. We don't
I-
have to be too in the weeds and too detailed. So
I
that's,
But of course,
also feel
it's
like
up
it
to you
kind
all,
of fits
so.
in a little bit with agritourism, which is kind of what we were putting I feel like when I looked back at the words that we kind of came up with, right? And
Mm-hmm.
were themes throughout, agrotourism was one. So maybe that goes with natural resources slightly, because
Yeah.
that's what we're kind of highlighting with agrotourism slightly, right?
okay. Yep. And history tourism.
Not to complicate this more, but I also
No,
had
it's
sent
fine.
another amendment or
Mhm.
potential amendment. Just because I feel like when I'm reading it, that diversity and inclusion is like tripping me up. It just doesn't seem to fit in any sentence. No matter how I played with it, it felt awkward. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. So is there a reason that we're just saying the town instead of like the town of Poolsville or Poolsville? Just
No, it's.
Okay. So I was just curious. So what I had sent around was Poolsville strives to preserve and emphasize our small town charm, natural resources, and history while continuing to promote sustainability and a strong sense of community for all. Our goal is to provide opportunities for our community members to live healthy and active lifestyles through access to essential services, parks and recreation, and high-quality education. So I don't know. It's all the same things, just worded slightly differently.
Is that the one you emailed?
I did. I emailed, well, sorry, I'm very late to the party. I emailed it Sunday.
Let me just look it over.
I agree, it reads, it's easier to read, it flows better, it's a better statement, in my
So just,
opinion.
just to make sure I'm capturing what you had said from my thing, because I don't recall seeing your email on that, but I apologize on that, but Poolsville
I
strives,
see you on this, so
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's
It's
okay.
amongst us, but I don't see you.
That's
on
fine.
this.
So I have Poolsville strives to both preserve and emphasize our small town charm, its natural resources and history, while continuing to promote sustainability and a strong sense of community. Our goal is to provide continuous opportunities for all to live healthy and active lifestyles through access to essential services, parks, recreation, and high-quality education. Is that where you were?
If that's okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we capture it.
There you go. It's in purple for whatever reason. Who's clearly a.
But, it's a better read, but it did remove the inclusion and diversity.
But by adding the community for all,
Right.
So
you're bringing in that sense of
Yeah, I like that.
diversity
It
and
sounds-
community
It
without,
sounds a little abrupt to say,
calling
like,
out.
you know, like a little forced to say that, like,
I just felt like in every read of it, when I got to diversity and inclusion, I just couldn't find, I tried to put it in all the different sentences in different ways, and it just never flowed.
Yeah.
But I do recognize that that's something we, if that's important to have that phrase in there, then we should keep it in there. I struggled with the flow of that a little. Lexi?
but I think
Yeah.
what you said kind of captures it without actually saying it.
For
Right,
all.
like, I agree that for all definitely encompasses, I mean, like, we were just talking about, you know, like walkability is encompassed by other statements. So maybe diversity and inclusion is encompassed by the for all phrase at the end of community. But I wonder if, I'm hesitant to remove something that is so blatantly for like to call out that we want to be diverse and inclusive.
So that's not in any of the suggested components that came out of any of the visioning statement things. That was something that we kind of said last time that we wanted, but that didn't come from any community members.
That's interesting.
Right?
yeah, that came up during the work session we were having, not from
Okay.
what we'd received.
So that's
through
why
the-
Well,
I
then that makes me feel a
personally
little
felt,
differently.
like, that's why I personally felt like that phrase was definitely from us, which I think is still important, and I think the town does value
Right.
being for everyone, but I don't know, since those words didn't specifically come up, if that specific phrase needs to be in it, to me.
I'm just looking at my thesaurus.
No, I definitely agree with that yours reads much nicer.
Yeah. Is there some halfway point we can do, add a word or two that doesn't go quite as far as diversity and inclusion, like, because of the awkwardness, but like, somehow emphasizes all, or describes all better?
Than all? Something
Yeah.
that
So
describes all
the-
better than all?
Like I said, when you look at describing all,
Well-
you would go into limiting what the all means,
Right.
right? You would be,
Yeah.
so leaving it at for all is inclusive as it can be.
I think, you know, like the for all thing covers it personally, I mean,
The other part that you added in, which sort of leads to it, is how you want to put the definition together. You know, you say our goal is to provide opportunities for our community. You know, by saying our community, you're also putting that everyone into the statement,
Yep.
not as, you know, it's an all-inclusive sort of term.
I'm good with the way Amanda wrote it,
I don't have any issues against it at all. I mean, I think it's a really good statement.
yeah.
All of them are really good. It's just that there was something,
Well, it's
it's
that,
just that
It was
diversity, inclusion, I hate to say, because I mean, I'm a special educator, like, saying, like,
Taking that piece out somehow feels awful, but it just didn't flow, and it wasn't words that came out of the community. But for all,
Yep.
well, and I think you'll look, as we're putting the sections of the plan together as well, we'll have the section of the plan that talks about the population, it talks about the makeup of the town, it gives you sort of what those, percentages, others the diversity, you'll see that. And if there's items like that that jump out saying we need to put a little focus, that's where you can develop the goals and objectives to, we'd like to, seeing what those numbers show.
Right.
Say we want to take some action to make this a more inclusive community or other based on what you're seeing with the numbers. So that's the part of this exercise. That's the. Okay, well, with that, we'll do that. The point of this is, remember, was we put this together, we get the draft together for the public. Eventually, as this gets together as a whole document, there will be the open review period for the public to provide comments and to give their thoughts and what they're seeing. So, the point is, like with anything, if you can't get the draft out there, nobody has anything to comment on. So, as long as the group here feels comfortable, we'll work to make that our thing. And if you don't mind, I did try to write down, but if you don't mind just forwarding me an email later just to make sure I've captured every word, that would be great.
At the end, can you give me your email?
Yes, will do. All right, great. Well, if we go to the next slide, and I know this is very hard to see, and this is, I'll admit, Larry's not here, so I'm going to give him a little bit on this, but Larry's been working and putting the schedule together. We've got it in Microsoft Project just to show you we're using this to track, but this is just to give you a snapshot of the things that are going. So this first page sort of talks about the delivery schedule that we're looking at. We've been doing the visioning exercise and all that with the meetings here, and we're really starting to now move into the chapters. And you'll see that we're working on the introduction, the town profile, housing, and transportation to really have those for you, to get drafts for you in the next month of December, so you start to have things to look at and start to give some comments on. We'll give an update on those at the December meeting coming up. And then we're moving forward with the other sections of the document in order to get those to you in basically that February timeframe. Get comments on what you're seeing with the first couple, get the other chapters together, get those to you to review, and move forward. So it just gives you a quick overview of where we're looking to get that draft plan together and start to get feedback on the individual chapters from everything that we've heard. If you go to the next slide, this blows it up in a little more detail with the sections that we were talking about. I'm not going to repeat that. It's just like I said, Larry had put this together to present to you last week, so that was his way of showing you. I'm just carrying it forward this week. And then, of course, the next slide after that is a little more blown up to show you sort of where we're looking to get that draft plan together in this February, March timeframe, so that you've at least got a first cut of all the different pieces and what's going into it. We will identify during these stages where there might be some placeholders or other things, but we want to start getting drafts in front of you so we make sure we're getting your thoughts and ideas and where things go to pull that overall together. The big part of that really is we've got a couple chapters ready. I guess the one question I want to ask for the group is, what is the best way for us to share that with you all for review? Some of these, as we get graphics and stuff, are larger. We do have a new Forma system that we can submit them to you, and it'll go to your emails, and it's like a Dropbox setup where you can get to review, and then you can give us comments on it. We'll provide them to you as Word documents so that you can do track changes or whatever, which to me is easier than somebody getting a PDF and trying to add notes to. But we can give you both formats. But if that's what you're okay with, we can go ahead and start submitting those to you. We're not submitting them, I'll say this on the record here, we're not submitting them as part of the meeting because they are work in progress. And once we get your comments, get feedback, and get the draft, then it'll be made available for public review. But the initial are sort of going to be working documents that we'll be working with you throughout the process on to get your feedback.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm good with
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, just want to make sure those are just some of the
And I hate
logistical fun
hate
stuff.
to ask this, but when we get stuff like that, can you give a deadline of when we have to give
Yes.
comments by? I know that that's ridiculous, but
Nope.
that's how I work my life right now.
Deadline for comments and a nice subtle reminder as we get closer. So, no problem. So if you go to the next slide, one of the first chapters that we are working on for you, just to give you sort of an overview, a couple of the pieces in there, is there are some goals, objectives, and action items that will be included for every chapter. But the transportation chapter in particular will start to talk about what the roadway system is, what the multimodal facilities in the area are, including the pedestrian facilities, other studies or plans that might be going on in the area that might be affecting or that you may have planned, and then any future transportation there. And with that, it sort of highlights where there may be gaps or needs and stuff within each of these. So it'll give an overview of the existing system and then sort of identify things that we're hearing in the goals and objectives and what that means within each of those sections. So just to give you a quick look at a couple of the sort of the head topics that go within that. The other chapter that you'll be getting soon, and I know we have Thanksgiving coming up next week, but I'll probably try to send it to you before that so you can start the review over the next couple weeks, is the community facilities chapter. And that really goes into an overview of what the existing and any planned facilities are within the town, where things stand, from everything from, an understanding of how the government works, the makeup, the public facilities that are here, public safety for, police, fire, et cetera, the schools, and then the park and recreation facilities that exist within the town. So it just gives you that summary of what's there, and what some of the goals with those are, and where there might be needs or things identified. And then for you to really start reviewing, I don't think for today, there's a lot of words here on the slide. I don't necessarily want to read through each, but I can read through them if that's what you feel you'd like. But what we did do on the next couple of slides is based on the workshop session. We started to pull together from what we heard from you are some goals and objectives with a little bit of actions on some of them. Some are a little more expanded than others because we've started working on those chapters up front. Some will continue to expand as we get to those other chapters. But the first slide here is transportation. There's a couple slides associated with it. You'll see there's like goal 1, improve and expand safe bicycle and pedestrian connectivity, some objectives associated with that, and some action items that could be done as part of it. These are things that we're presenting to you to start to look at. We'll include this in the draft chapter that we're giving you, and then look for you to give us any comments as it relates to these items or things you would like to do. I know it's a lot to sort of take in and start looking here. We're not looking to get comments here tonight, but we want to get it in front of you now, and then you'll see these incorporated into the chapter, and then there'll be the data behind that, backing things up within the depth of the chapter. Goal 2 there was the strategically invest in multimodal transportation. These are sort of themes we've been hearing from the other. And then goal 3 gets into enhanced public transportation so it's accessible to all town residents. I'm just trying to hit some of the elements that came out from the workshops. And then goal 4 is improving overall vehicular safety and movement within the town. So just to sort of give you an idea where we're going with that, get your thoughts. We're welcome to add more goals. We're welcome to change these, but just trying to capture things we've heard from the previous meetings and items. And then the next slide gets into community facilities and services. I know it's a lot and probably hard for those to see from the thing, but this, Larry expanded the transportation ones a little more in putting this together. The community facilities, you see, we've got a total of 6 goals on this one page that were identified there from the facility side. And these are things that came from the stakeholder interviews as well as our work session. The first goal is to operate business and service facilities should reside at locations that are accessible to all users and abilities in an equitable manner. It's hard for me to read a little bit on my print because of the thing, but I can't see the word. Oh, design and lay out each facility to reflect the community. The background I had, and I just printed it black and white for myself, and it's like the white's blending in on the one page there. So, design and lay out each facility to reflect community setting and character of town, as well as possess both practices and energy efficiency and sustainability. Got require that the service infrastructure meet or exceed performance standards. These are all sort of things we need to make sure that are happening with the facilities. Enhance the learning experience of students, state-of-the-art technology in the educational facilities. Protect historic community buildings, and then of course encouraging economic development as part of that. I am noticing now as I do look through it, we probably should be adding something in there too on the parks and preserving our parks and features from the items that we have. So we'll make sure we get that in there too. The next slide gets into housing. And this is that, ensuring that there's a variety of safe, quality housing choices that are affordable and accessible for ages and abilities. Variety of options of individuals and families of different socioeconomic levels, life stages, and physical needs. Supporting quality housing that is healthy, climate resilient, and energy efficient. Foster community of access to services in diverse neighborhoods close to public transit, employment, and essential services. And some objectives as part of doing that. So we are looking to get your feedback and comment on these, but just to give you an idea of where we're sort of heading from what we heard. Same thing on land use. This is a big part of making sure the land use is set up to really meet the sustainability. We're making sure we've got the right essential services, park and recreation, a livable community. Looking at the categories to protect the historic areas where necessary, as well as open space for natural resources. And then there is a part here about refine the town center to include a mix of uses providing community, commercial, and retail services. Also, opportunities for medium density to create some more 24/7 activities versus just peak period activities.
I don't understand the 24/7 activities, because don't we specifically limit activities from in our code?
Well,
I guess I just don't understand. This might be semantics.
right. Well, I mean, there are things like there's quiet hours and things like that. And there are times when we limit the parks, but also people can go walking on the street whenever they want. So it depends on how you.
Right, but I'm thinking
Define
like commercial use, like you
Mhm.
cannot have your business open between certain hours. Is that not correct? Didn't we change, isn't that part of the
Yeah.
I
code?
think there is something
Yeah.
in code waived now.
I think there is.
Yeah.
I think I remember during that conversation at some point.
In the 7-Eleven conversation.
Yeah, I thought it was part of, around that same time,
Yeah.
that there was a discussion about
Well, I mean,
not
we can
having.
get that feedback and
Yeah, we can check that.
I just wasn't sure, I was like, I didn't understand what 24/7 activities meant.
Yeah, and we can work on the wording. I think one of the comments that we heard from the workshops and some of the other was that there were often times that things were limited, that they wanted to have a little more evening access or other stuff of people coming into town, or that in the evenings where businesses are closed by 5 o'clock. And they really would like to go to, but they're maybe at work or not thinking able to do certain businesses, and having that where there is an opportunity into the evening. I think 24/7 is probably the wrong way to say it, because we're not talking about things happening overnight necessarily.
I think there's a lot of ways you could say that you know, aren't saying 24/7.
Yeah.
That communicate that we're trying to make it as much as possible.
Right, because you've got a mix of individuals where you are, you know, if you have the aging population, they may be doing some more things during the day. But then you have a group that, you know, has school and other activities and want to make sure there are services available during those evening timeframes and they're not getting restricted. And we can work on
That makes
a
more
way to
sense.
word
Thank you
that.
for clarifying. I
Yeah.
wasn't understanding what was going on there.
Yep. And then, of course, environmental is always fairly straightforward, and we know this area, really that sensitivity to the resources, it's a key resource from recreational as well as the natural environment. You know, and taking a look at what it means from a climate change perspective as well, and how that might affect the town. This does start to pull in some of the stormwater management and things to ensure water quality and other items. And then, you know, we do put in here, one of the things is that access to those resources, because you see that not only just as a protected open space area, but there's a big recreational component associated with that in this area. I think I got that slide twice on my print. I don't know if you had it twice in the presentation. And then the final slide there is the economic development, which is a required element of the plan to talk about what the county's doing either to preserve or to expand upon the economic development within the community. And a lot of the conversation here, you know, was local job opportunities with a livable wage, as well as education and training that's needed to support all levels. Really not just, you know, make sure we're open to all of the services there, but also make sure we're enhancing that small town character with the town center and the activity for those services. And then, you know, the support of the surrounding and rural development in the ag pres areas and stuff like that.
Probably want to bring in the grape crush facility that's being constructed. Because that's going to be a big educational portion too.
Okay. But please take a chance to look at those, things that you feel may not be there, let us know. Things that you're not sure of, we can always look to clarify. I expect these to be continuing to evolve as we get into each of the chapters, but the point is we want to get it out in front now and start to get feedback and input as we're going.
Hey, Brian, can I jump in for a second?
Yep.
Go ahead, Wade. Yeah, so definitely, as I read this earlier today, and then going through it right now, you know, there's 4 or 5 things that just popped up that should be objectives or at least looked at. I think everybody probably had the same kind of thought maybe. So can we like just put our thoughts and then put them together and email them to you or something?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but there was certain things that just definitely popped up for me.
Okay. And the one thing that I will add, we didn't have it listed here in the chapter. Early on, Wade was making the comment about doing the annual updates for the wastewater as well as doing it also for the water. One of the key elements, it's a requirement of the plans now, is the water resources element, where we will identify what the water, wastewater services capacity are as it relates to the land use and future land use that's included within the map, to ensure that those services are available, or if they're not, what restrictions there might be in order to meet the plan's needs. That's something we'll be working very closely with Wade, Niles, and John on with that piece of it. They've provided us some of the preliminary information already from those studies to start working with. And that'll be one of the later chapters that you'll see, because it is one of those pieces that as we go through this for these different resources, different needs, and pull it all together, then we have sort of that, we're good with existing land use, we're good with where we're going with future land use and growth areas, and then we have all those calculations for what it means from a water, wastewater, and stormwater management perspective. And that includes the sustainability element for climate change and other things that could affect that as part. So it's always tough a little bit in these, because there's pieces that reflect in each different chapter that feedback, and we try to do our best to make sure, or at least give a reference of where additional info is in other chapters if you don't see it. So like if you're looking at natural environment and you're wanting to know about stormwater, water quality piece, there might be a reference that will say additional information on this is found in the water resources element chapter or something like that. And we do like to, as we refine the goals and objectives, one of the things that we've been doing with a lot of the plans that a lot of groups have liked is that last chapter we always called the implementation chapter, is taking the goals and objectives that are in the individual chapter, and we include those word for word in an implementation chapter, so that when you're done with the plan and you sit down and say, what's our action item? And somebody says, well, we haven't done anything on environment. You can go to the environment list, see it, of our goal and objective, and then if you want to know more detail about it, you can then dive into the chapter, but you don't have to go chapter by chapter to find it. You can use that almost as like a little checklist for yourselves over the next 10 years for those items, and prioritize that list moving forward. So with that, our next steps are really we're going to start getting you these draft chapters, and we'll email those out to you and start to get your feedback and input. We're starting to do a little bit just on some format stuff too and other things, so that, these first couple chapters, we're going to want your feedback on that. I'm not going to be insulted if you say I want 16 point font to read it better. I'm just joking, but but as you look at the layout, something that you want to make sure that as this becomes a more, I'll call a final draft document, it's pleasant to your eye, something you think the community is going to be able to read, be okay with. If you see things you're concerned about, raise those, and we'll adjust any formatting and stuff like that. But earlier we get comments on that better, because we hate to get near the end and be reformatting the whole thing, if you know where I'm coming from.
Do you all have, like at Wallace Montgomery, do you have like a template so that we're not gonna, if there's something we didn't think of or whatever, that like you're gonna come to us and say, what about like this piece?
Yeah, we're making sure that the key we're going to have is make sure that the plan is meeting the requirements that MDP has laid out for the comprehensive plan. So that's really the checklist. They talk about like the 12 visions and stuff as part of that. This is outlined basically off of those elements. So we'll make sure that they're each there, but we can work to provide you something like that to show a little more of that sort of checklist side.
Have you ever been affiliated with doing this before?
Yeah, so I've done some of this work in Rockville. Obviously, it was more the planning department, but we sort of reviewed and worked on some of that stuff. At the Village of Martin's Additions, because we didn't have zoning authority, we didn't do this. We did other similar kind of vision tasks and things like that. But one of the things I do know we have is a one-page thing that has all the required elements of the plan, and we have like the optional things that you can put in the plan. So in that context, we can sort of take this outline and sort of strip away whatever is not in there and then send that to you, because it'll take a short period of time. So you'll have that one page that says, here's the required bits and here's the few extra things, like the implementation chapter that's there.
And that,
so you have that as well.
And that intro chapter that we're pulling together for you, the point of that intro chapter is explaining to people, what is a comprehensive plan? Why do we do a comprehensive plan? These are the laws and regulations that must be met. That'll be one of the first chapters we're giving you here, so it gives you that, and anyone reading it, that context of what it means. So like I said, we're anxious to finally be getting to the putting meat on the bone, for lack of a better way to say it, to start getting chapters in front of you. And, this is your document. We really, take no offense to anything said or any comment given or anything. That's what we're here for, is to help guide through and put pieces in and get your take and feel of what you'd like to see or what you don't like, so.
All right, so we're gonna be getting chapters sent to us soon.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah, we'll look to get you something probably early next week.
okay.
Through that to, I just want to make sure, with the team as I go back. I've started myself, you'll see, I'm just starting to insert some things as we go, just for my own working of different draft things we have written up. This will continue to expand as we do it, but it's just one of those things that we, work through it with you. And we'll provide you those updates, and as you requested, we'll give you sort of a need comments by. The goal in December is, a couple of those first chapters will be to you, and we'd like to get your initial feedback. Don't expect final comments by the next planning commission meeting, but we would want you to have at least initial comments so that they can be discussion and things that you like, don't like, would like to see moving forward. And then we can look to make revisions. So while our schedule here talked about sort of when you'll start seeing the chapters, what it didn't reflect is, here's transportation to you, you're giving us comments, here's environment to you. Oh, by the way, while we're working on environment, we're revising transportation based on the comments, so that when we get it all back at the end, we'll have it as one document for you to then look at as one document. But we found it's best to sort of work section by section, let you focus of what am I thinking from the environment, what am I thinking from transportation, what everything, and then you'll see the collective.
I think it makes sense.
And we'll highlight anything, if we start to see anything that's conflicting or, confusing, because it's like, well, I'm just speaking just for broad examples, not that you would be doing this, but, if we say we want to make sure we're ensuring, additional open space and recreational areas, and then the economic development chapter saying we want high density residential and all the, we're gonna be like, wait a second, guys, we got to talk here. We're off on what we're talking about when it comes to the different, items that are coming forward. So just a broad example, but just to give you an idea that we'll look at that and give you any feedback as we go through it.
Yeah. Are we still looking on track for like April or May to have a final?
That's what we're shooting for. That's why we're saying by February, to at least have a first draft chapter to each of you so that we're getting comments, and then through that March timeframe, we're working through any comment revisions and getting it to a draft version in that April-May timeframe.
And just so you know, I found your email in that thread, and I just was forwarding you that statement
No
before I
problem.
forgot.
I'll give you my card here too before we leave, just to make sure you have it.
Anything else? No?
I make a motion to, what do we say?
Adjourn.
Adjourn the Poolsville Planning Commission meeting.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Have a great night.